Hi, friends. Once again, we are welcome, and hope you are all we are enjoying the session as we all carry along. Okay, helping each other. All right. So, in this session, we're looking at ethics. Ethics forms a very key part of any professional accountant's lifestyle. It cuts across both individual practices, both in our homes, in our individual lives, in the society. But at this point, we'll be looking more at the corporate dimensions of ethics. So we all will find ourselves working in one way or the other in the corporate world. The question is, how best do we live a morally upright life to enhance the operations of the organization? In our professional calling, how do we ensure that we do not tarnish the image of the profession in which we identify ourselves? Okay. Remember, ethics is not the same as morality. They are totally different. Okay. So sometimes we see someone who is ethically upright but not morally upright. And you see someone who is a moralist but not ethical. Okay. Time will not permit us to delve deep into ethics versus morality, but note they are two different concepts. Okay. We sometimes might mistake it, perhaps because of our religious dimensions. You might think anyone who is ethical must be morally upright, but they, they veer off totally one from the other. Okay. Sometimes you might think one is the subset of the other. It happens that morality should be a subset, but morality is just a component of ethics. We'll look at it as we delve into it. Okay. So we'll split it into four different parts. The discussion on ethics, on business ethics. We'll look at the general code of practice that we know for professional accountants. And then we'll also consider the underlying theories that drive it, deontological ethics, teleological ethics. There's also justice and fairness. There's business virtue, on and on. But we'll identify the main ones, okay? So ethics. So I'll take you once again through our outline, okay? So there's a third one, the third lecture, ethics, a little broad. Okay, you will not find it necessarily in the E2 paper, but you find it in one of the similar texts. I think you find one in the E1. E1 gives you the topics on ethics, and you may want to blend it with other documents on ethics. Okay, so we have some suggested readings online. So please make good use of all of them. All right, so we'll look at business ethics, and I'll look at ethical conduct in organizations, and then ethics of the profession, accountants, and accounting ethics. Okay, now ethics, like I said, is very fundamental in every business. If we want to sustain the value we have created for the shareholders or for the other stakeholders, we must ensure that we run the organization based on a very good ethical principle. Every organization needs ethics. It's fundamental for us to survive as a going concern. So if you don't run your finance function or any other function, marketing function, HR function, in an ethical way, with integrity, with professionalism, with due care, with some knowledge about your professional conduct or professional calling, you end up not doing the best, honestly. You end up running down your section or your function. So ethics is important. We will be looking at it purely from our finance and accounting function as professional accountants or finance folks, finance executives. We must ensure we promote ethical conduct in our workplace throughout the business. And so if I'm an auditor, I'm privileged to have worked with KPMG, and they taught me how to abide by ethics. So typically what ethics is about does not just deal with you being at the workplace. As a professional accountant, even if you're off work, make sure wherever you are, you display the highest level of ethics. Because at the end of the day, it may cast a positive image on your profession, on your organization, or on your life as a whole. Okay. All right. So in Kaplan's definition 2020, page 28, page 8, gives us some definitions. So ethics simply looking at a system of moral principles which examines the concept of right from wrong. So here, realize they are bringing moral principles. Like I said, some dimensions will consider morality or principles of morality as subsets of ethics, but they are not the same. Okay, just a subset, but they are not the same. Now, business ethics is looking at application of these ethical values to the whole business across board. Okay, the reason why I'm saying morality is not the same as ethics. If you are a Christian, for example, Christians will say drinking is not morally upright, right? It's a moral act. Christians will say that it's not right to practice polygamy, right? It's not morality. But you see people who are professional accountants who are not married, but they have more than two partners, or they jump from one partner to the other. You see professional accountants who are who drink, take a little alcohol, okay, for the sake of the tummy. So you ask yourself, would you say these are not ethical? Just take a little wine, okay? So morality is totally different from ethics. Ethics looks at more of a bigger picture, okay? So that's what we should look at. They are not the same. Morality could be just an aspect of ethics, okay? And at times, you find yourself in a situation where you are worried. How do I make a decision in this case? What should I do? Okay, I've had a situation where I was on an audit assignment, and then my senior colleague on the audit team decided to take bribes. Okay, do all sorts of things, and I was just a junior. What do I do? What do I do? Okay, that's an ethical dilemma. What I did was to follow the SEC code of conduct. Then, SEMA also has a similar one, which we must always. So talk to a senior professional, escalate it. Someone beyond the one who has done that unethical act. If it doesn't work, seek guidance from the professional body. They will always give you guidance and make sure you remove yourself from the situation. Escalate it. So I did the same thing. At the end of the day, I had to resign from the workplace. So you find yourself in this ethical dilemma, especially when you realize no one is siding with you because chop make I chop. Okay, that's cool. If you've heard of that statement, Charlie, let us share. Let's share. So you get a letter, you bring it, and we all share, and we'll move on. But if it doesn't happen that way, you want to stand for the right, even though the heavens are falling, then you have to stand. And that's what we all need to do as accountants. We need to work for the interest of the public, not for individual or some collective few guys' interest. Okay. So at this point, what I'm saying is a distinguishing mark of our accounting profession is to act in the public interest. The company can collapse, but the society must survive. You cannot collapse the society and think the company will survive. Who will support the company if society collapses? Okay, so everything we do is solely in the interest of the public. So if somebody is doing some act which will cause posterity to lose, then we have to immediately stop them from doing that. Okay, if they're polluting the system, if they are undertaking some corrupt practices that will siphon funds from the system, such that the few will enjoy and the entire masses will suffer. You don't do that. Okay, so we are not looking at only satisfying a few, just the owner, just the investor or the shareholder, or just the employer who is kept you. Okay, no, it's for the public good. So in this case, as professional accountants, we need to observe and comply with all these code of ethics which underline or which govern our profession. If you are prohibited, you can escalate it. No, in fact, the code will not allow you, will not permit you to um, to be prohibited from complying with those laws. And again, you are not just supposed to be complying with parts and portions of the code. You need to comply with it in its entirety. The whole code, you practice it, okay? And like I said, not just at the business workplace, but even in your individual life, you need to portray or project this image that the profession has a higher calling. So the International Federation of Accountants generally has proposed 5 ethical principles which have stood for all this while. Okay, if you look at the CIMA Code of Ethics, SEC Code of Ethics, ICAS, ICAEW, they comply with these 5 code ethical codes Okay, principles or code of ethics. So one will talk of integrity, objectivity, professional competence, and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. We're going to use these five for the remaining part of these slides, okay, or this session, and then we call it off. And then we look at the next section, okay. So what's integrity? Always be straightforward, be honest. Don't be associated with anything that is materially false or misleading, or something which omits information that is required for proper understanding. So there's one other informal way of of defining integrity, and it says that doing the right thing when no one is watching. That's all. So you do the right thing when no one is watching. So you find yourself in the office all alone. You can add a zero. Nobody will see. You are the CEO. You are the CFO. Nobody will even find out that it's just a common zero which has given you some. Don't do the right thing, no matter what. Okay. When I was in KPMG, we had about 7 core values. Amongst others, you talk of respect the individual. We work together, looking at the community, seeking the facts, and providing insights, so on and so forth. But overall, when it was ending, KPMG Ghana, I don't know whether their 7 core values might have been modified, but you realize at the seventh one they say, and above all, we act with integrity. Integrity is very key. Can you imagine you being called a man who lacks integrity? Nobody would actually take your words as something that stands the test of time. Okay. Objectivity, no bias, no compromise. If you have a partner who is sitting the same test as some other person, you treat them equally. It's difficult sometimes to implement this, but I've seen people who have done this. I've seen some academics whose wives were sitting in the same class as other students, and they treated them equally. Okay, sometimes it beats the human imagination when you see some of these lecturers even failing their own spouses, and at the end of the day, they'll still be with them in the same home. Okay, but that's objectivity. Don't be compromised by any undue influence. Okay, don't. If there's a conflict of interest situation, disclose it. If you have a share in the company and you are going to audit it, it's better you recuse yourself from that. If you have someone, a relative who owns a significant share, who works or who has a significant influence over the activities of the firm, and you know you're an auditor, you recuse yourself, okay? You stay away from that, okay? Then we're talking of maintaining professional competence and due care. As an accountant, as a professional accountant, you are required to always upgrade your knowledge and your understanding of the current practices, the legislation, and techniques you use in your accounting practice. So you realize that ACCA, I'm a fellow with ACCA, so I may use them, and even and SEMA. What they do is that you always need to get a minimum amount of CPD. When you become a member, an ACCA 20 credits CPDs, they always will offer you CPD lessons freely. Sometimes you buy, but in a year you need a minimum of 20 CPD hours. This is because they want you not to be dormant over there and stuck to the old ways of doing things. You need to keep yourself updated and abreast with developing trends. So I remember when I qualified ACCA, sometimes in 2009 or so, during the graduation, they said, listen, you will now have more to learn than what you have already learned. Okay. So make sure you act diligently in line with the current professional standards, technical standards. Okay. IFRS is always changing. For example, they're always updating it with new stuff. Okay. Now there are standards on sustainability reporting. You need to keep yourself updated with this. Confidentiality. When you go to the client's office to work, you have, or even if you're an accountant, you're in the workplace, any information you find, you don't use it for your personal benefit or for the benefit of your family. No. Confidentially, make sure you safeguard the client information or your workplace information. Don't disclose it to third parties without without approval, let me say so, unless you are under a legal duty to report it, or unless you know that this information, when I disclose it, it will be to the general benefit of the society, then you can disclose the information. Otherwise, do not use any information that pertains to the organization or to a client for personal benefit. No, you don't do that. All right. And then finally, professional behavior, like I said, Make sure you are not just complying with these codes of ethics and principles at the workplace only, but wherever you find yourself, you need to apply them. So you see, if you are an accountant, a professional accountant, and you beat your wife, for example, once it comes out that you are been physically assaulting people or abusing people, and it comes to what will you be done? What happens is that you'll be stripped of your qualifications and even be banned from withholding your from holding yourself as someone with those credentials. So if you see a case study where they're asking you, what will you do? This person has done this thing outside of the scope of his official duties. No, it still counts against him. Okay, it still counts against him. All right. So we'll take this question. John is a SEMA member in practice. Try and solve this question per the groupings that we've done. Yeah, okay. John is a SEMA. You can also do it individually. So John is a SEMA member in practice. He advises a range of individual clients and organizations. John has been asked by his brother to prepare the account for his brother's company. Now, John's brother says that he wants the reported profit to be as high as possible, as he will soon be applying to the bank for a finance loan, a loan. Okay, a loan. To do this would be in breach of which of the fundamental ethical principles, according to SEMA's Code of Ethics. Which one do you think? Is it integrity? Is it objectivity? Is it professional competence and due care, confidentiality, or professional behavior? Which ones do you think apply? Try this, okay? And let's share the answers and justify why. Okay. So to end this session, I'll give you one clear cut case. I used to work with an organization. I wouldn't mention the name, and I realized they were cooking the books. And as an auditor, I need to do what was right. At the end of the day, what happened was that I lost my role as an auditor, um, because the senior management told me plainly, you are not working the way we want. You are not working to favor us. You are working against us. And it's strange when you hear these things. So if you become a professional accountant, you find some of these things. Sometimes you'll be in hot waters, and that's where the ethical dilemmas come in for you to decide. All right. So I'll see you in the next session, friends. Take care. We'll share more ideas, more classical case studies, more real time case studies, and we'll see how best we can resolve this. All right. Take care and see you soon. Bye.